I'll just open up with a question, and then I'll float the mic around. I'm sure there are questions in the room, but just curious in terms of the idea for the project. When did you first become aware of the Muscle Shoals story? What made it something you wanted to do?
Well, I became aware of it when I was a kid in grade school, but I was only aware of some of the music that was from there. I had no idea the totality, the magnitude of music. And then, so fast forward many, many decades later, and I was helping a buddy of mine move from New York City to New Mexico, and we ended up in Muscle Shoals late one night. Well, we just would drive, we would get tired, and then we would want to sleep, and we actually just had a road atlas, no GPS, and we saw Muscle Shoals on the map behind us, 40 miles, and we turned around and drove backwards 40 miles to spend the night there. And then when we rode into town, we just had a sort of profound experience and stayed for about a day.
Awesome. Somebody else? Like, question or comment about the film you just saw?
I think this might be the smallest audience I've ever done a Skype with.
I bet it is. I bet it is. Like I said, we had a full room for the screening, and then everybody got up and got dinner or something. Yeah.
Hi. Is this on? Did you get a sense if Rick Hall could tell the wide variety of quality of what he did, like from the Osmonds to Aretha Franklin?
Did I get a sense that he could tell it?
Yeah, like it wasn't all about money for him, right? Like the Osmonds, I don't know, that's something to be proud of.
So I just want to make sure. So your question is, was it all?
Do you think he could tell like who was good and who was bad?
Oh, okay. Well, I think he definitely cared, and he was an artist himself, and he cared about perfection. But at the same time, he gave nothing, and so he was keenly aware of making money, and was also a businessman and wanted to do well financially. So I think he had both those driving forces in his chemistry big time. I think he was driven to succeed making money, and I think he was driven to succeed being the best producer he could be and producing the best music he could produce.
Hi, yeah, great film. I really enjoyed it a lot. I've been a big fan of the Muscle Shoals Sound for many years, and this was a real treat. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm curious of a couple of things, I guess, about how easy it was to pull everyone together to be part of this project and to share their experiences. All the different people who recorded there, and more particularly about this is an aspect of the story that I didn't know about: Rick Hall breaking off, and then the Swampers breaking off, and if there were any lingering issues at the time that you were making this film, and how that sort of played out between them.
Yeah, good questions. Gathering everyone was tough, I'd say. I mean, about some weren't and others were hard, but in totality, that's definitely a chore and not one of the funner parts of the job. But we got everyone, and they were super gracious to share their experiences with us and come out, to be part of the story. And then as far as, so yeah, there was, obviously a lot of time's gone by, and they've healed that riff in a lot of ways, but more healing went down. Hey, boys, be quiet. My boys are playing. My boys are playing hockey in the background here. They're all jazzed up with the Olympics. So at the same time, they, I think a lot of healing went down during the course of the film. And in fact, the last scene where they got together was shot pretty much at the end of the process. I had never had them all on camera together in the same space. And actually, Rick and the drummer hadn't seen each other till that moment on camera for about 7 years. And a lot of them came to me afterwards because then they got together in this room and we recorded that. It just didn't make it in the movie, but it is on the DVD extras. And they got to sit face to face and say a lot of things to each other face to face that they had, hadn't really ever said. So, so they all said, hey, that was a special day, and I think, more healing went down. I have a question for you guys. Do you guys all associate with Berklee School of Music? No? Yes? No?
We got one hand up in front of me here. I think most of the folks that hung around were the non-Berklee crew. There are a lot of evening classes on campus here. So.
Gotcha.
Do you have a music background, and did that impact how you approached the film?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, I did. In my 20s, I really wanted to be a musician. And I was, I really wanted to be a musician. But I was never going to have perfect pitch, and I was never going to be able to play, like I wanted to. So eventually I stopped playing music and wasn't doing anything creative in my life until I'd made this film. And it definitely it definitely affected, I think it affects filmmaking, even if it wasn't a music film. I think it would have affected me and how I approached it. And then, being a music film, it affects it as well. But just filmmaking, I think it would affect us, in general.
I had a question about one of the actually small moments in the film. There was a moment where they were talking about the Rolling Stones recording, and the engineer was like, and there was no drugs and no alcohol, and the Stones were like, and it was hilarious. Is there more backstory to that? Like, what was he unaware? Was he trying to create a particular image?
I think his memory just kind of failed him on that. No, I don't think he was. Well, I don't think he. I think he just remembered it probably that they weren't. What did he told me about this later? He said, what did he tell me? That's Jimmy Johnson, who's one of the Swampers who engineered those tracks off Sticky Fingers, and I think he either remembered it that way or I don't know, but at the same time, those guys were really, those guys were great at being anonymous and not, there was no paparazzi. They weren't telling stories. That was kind of a hidden beauty of it that maybe isn't really, I guess it's touched on in the film a little, but that is a hidden beauty of it, no paparazzi, no stories being sold to TMZ, and, next to anyone down there, a dead man talked too much. So I think that was all attractive for the rock and rollers.
Sure. Awesome.
Hi there, operating a camera at the back and being at a music school. I was curious, as a photographer and as a music student, could you speak to the relationship between the cinematography and the soundtrack that ended up as the final cut for the film?
Yeah, and I'll add a third component, which is the sound design. Sound design and soundtrack. So this first film I made, and it became so abundantly clear how powerful sound design and music is in the impact of a scene, and that's using silence as well, because silence is its own music. So, but I would see other, I would look at other films or other scenes, and I would just see, working through a scene, it was amazing how much of an impact sound design or scoring the piece can make. It's a really symbiotic relationship, and it really impacts the overall filmmaking. And I wasn't really aware of that in the very beginning of the process, but by the end I realized it's overlooked in a lot of documentaries, I'd say. I think feature films are more obviously hip, narrative films are more hip to that relationship, but a lot of docs I don't think take advantage of that, and so it's an amazing tool to increase the impactfulness of the scenes.
did you get to hang out in the studios a little bit? Are there any good stories there from your time?
Yeah, definitely hung out in the studios plenty. I mean, just all of them were a good time. You know, the friendships, hanging with those guys, and you know, it's like family now. You know, like I'm in touch with all those guys all the time. I'm actually going to be down in Muscle Shoals next weekend. So, you know, as far as particular stories, I don't know, but just, you know, a lot of hanging out and a lot of you know, having a good time together, and basically all these friendships developing that are, you know, ongoing friendships.
I have a question, kind of more music business stuff, because obviously Berkeley teaches a whole wide range of different music industry stuff, and in the film you're using a lot of different songs, obviously from one studio, but I'm wondering what hurdles you may have had to get through for the rights to put them in there, and what you wanted to use but maybe didn't get to use, or did you get to use everything you wanted, or?
Yeah, we were really lucky. We had a really good music supervisor, very well respected, a lot of relationships, and then the fact of it being a documentary to honor these guys who were well known in the music industry and had never had their moment in the sun, and, you know, a lot of people had a lot of success, you know, based on their work, financial success. So we were able to get, you know, there were songs, you know, that we still wanted that we didn't get. I had a Dwayne Allman sequence cut to a different song of Please Be With Me that was really, I liked a lot better, but we couldn't get that. What other songs did we not get? But we got, I mean, but I was really happy with what we got. I mean, we really got pretty much, I can't complain. We got like pretty much all the music that we wanted and that was important for the story. And, you know, Jill Myers was the music supervisor, and she did a great job.
Hi.
This is my son, Charlie.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey.
That's my other son, Jake.
So as kind of a follow-up, I also wonder what the artist relationships, because obviously in the film you touch on some of the conflicts that happened between Jerry Wexler and Hall and things like that. So did you also try reaching out to other artists, and was everybody seem receptive, or was there any kind of strenuous kind of approach to some of this, do you think?
Well, so let me. I just want to make sure I understand your question.
So when in approaching the artists, I mean,
yep,
artists are who they are for a reason, and I wonder if everybody you approached seemed very receptive, or if there were people that were really kind of taken aback of wanting to talk about the era or what was happening at that time, or any of those kinds of things.
Oh yeah, well, you know, it's a wide range. I mean, you know, you can't even get Mick Jagger and Keith Richards to show up for a movie about the Rolling Stones and be on camera in the same movie. So, I mean, you know, stuff like that is, you know, there's a lot of individuals in the movie and a lot of artists. So, you know, some of those guys are very hard to track down, and much less, you know, get to appear in your film and just, you know, out of the goodness of their heart, you know, give you an afternoon. So, but they all did, and the reason they all did was because of the story, not because of us. It was because of the story. It's like folklore amongst musicians, and coming out to honor those who've never had their day in the sun, that played such a seminal role in American music, was the big draw. So, you know, where others were like, yeah, I'd love to talk about it, and others were like, you know, you had to talk to their managers, person's assistant, you know.
I think you froze on us. You might have to repeat the last little bit of what you said, because for some reason you've frozen up on us a little.
How about now? Are we back in real time?
Yep, got it now.
All right, so did you catch any of that answer?
Yes, we caught some of it up through, where were we talking about? You had to talk to the manager's person.
Yeah. Whereas other people, you know, were super available and accessible and happy to come out, and once we, you know, they showed up and we showed up, they were all super They were very animated. I mean, you know, some of those interviews were great. I don't think I've ever seen a better Greg Allman interview where he's more animated, and we caught him in good moods, and they seemed to be really happy to talk about, you know, their experiences in the Muscle Shoals story. So we felt really lucky on that front.
I just wanted to. Oh, it froze up again. Okay, I just wanted to make a comment. There was the scene, a couple of scenes in a loft area or warehouse or just an empty building space, and the beautiful the furniture that people were sitting in was so beautiful that I just loved the softness and the contrast between that very kind of empty studio and then these beautiful chairs. Just I really like that.
I just caught. It froze up, but I caught.
Okay.
I think
I was talking about the warehouse, the empty lofty space, and
Right.
with the artist sitting in these beautiful chairs. And I
Yeah.
loved the contrast between the really kind of harsh brick, but beautifully that industrial versus this beautiful furniture. I just
Well,
really
thanks for
enjoyed that
noticing. Yeah.
contrast.
Thank you for noticing. Yeah. I mean, that was always my desire. But then things would get in the way, like an artist is, you know, saying, you know, I only have an hour and here's where it's going to be, or not finding, or if, let's say they were willing, I couldn't find a space like that, depending on where I was. But boy, if I could, if the artist would let me choose a spot and we could find the location, that was always, I would have had that for every interview. And yeah, so I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, I was a fan of it too, and I fit it in there as many times as I could pull off that location for an interview, a location like that.
Any final questions from folks? Or all right, thank you so much.
No
I
problem.
really appreciate the time that you gave to this very small room.
No, I was glad to do it. Thanks for come out to support the film, and it was nice chatting with you all.
You as well. Have a good night.
All right, take care. Bye. But I was only aware of some of the music that was from there. I had no idea the totality, the magnitude of music. And then, so fast forward many decades later, and I was helping a buddy of mine move from New York City to New Mexico, and we ended up in Muscle Shoals late one night. Well, we just would drive, we would get tired, and then
I'll just open up with a question, and then I'll float the mic around. I'm sure there are questions in the room, but just curious in terms of the idea for the project. When did you first become aware of the Muscle Shoals story? What made it something you wanted to do?
Well, I became aware of it when I was a kid in grade school, and about to sleep, and we actually just had a road atlas, no GPS, and we saw Muscle Shoals on the map behind us, 40 miles, and we turned around and drove backwards 40 miles to spend the night there. And then when we rode into town, we just had a sort of profound experience and stayed for about a day.
I bet it is. I bet it is. Like I said, we had a full room for the screening, and then everybody got up and got dinner or something. Yeah.
Hi, is this on? Did you get a sense if Rick Hall could tell the wide variety of quality of what he did, like from the Osmonds?
Awesome. Somebody else? Like, question or comment about the film you just saw?
I think this might be the smallest audience I've ever done a Skype with.